film about a criminal industry that's sweeping the world.
You imagine that you've got counterfeit mineral water, counterfeit apple. We found that. We found counterfeit medicines in the pharmacy.
It's the story of the brands we think we can't live without, and demand gone wild for their copies.
Have a look at the bag on the floor, that's a fake bag. And the quality's good, the leather's good, so yeah, it's really, I think it's a very good quality knockoff.
How China became the superpower where everything is made and everything is faked.
This how much? How much? For two, how much?
Sometimes it goes to Europe or United States. It all depends on the market. If there's a market, the goods will go there.
Capitalism's growing out of control. Welcome to the counterfeiter's century. Today, the world has a new religion.
We've had an extremely successful year, and I want to thank our users very much.
Our icons are global brands, with the top CEOs holding evangelical mass rallies.
An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it?
Although Apple's promotional podcast celebrates its slick, Californian-designed iPods, its products are made by unseen Chinese factory workers, and so are its competitors.
iPhone.
Over the past 20 years, this magic route to increase profits has had one unpredicted consequence: the creation of a vast, international counterfeit industry.
Good morning. Excusez-moi, monsieur. C'est moi pour le français. Laisse la pomme derrière.
Ah ouais, attends, je la cache.
Ok, sure. Oui, je vous entends bien.
Should I look at?
Just look at my eye, look at me.
Yeah.
In January 2007, the senior executives of 20 of the world's biggest corporations came to Switzerland to declare war on the fakers that are threatening their profits.
It's a worldwide organization we have in front of us. We must be aware of that huge threat on our society.
It's very, very dangerous, and it's more and more important now. We have in mind that it's between 5 and 10%. It depends on the country, but it's increasing very, very dramatically.
20% of Germans' cigarettes are counterfeited one way or the other. 20%.
And in all industries are really affected now.
Many of these brands have never gone public before for fear of damaging our faith in their products. Now, for the first time, they're appealing directly to us, their consumers.
Thank you for being here. I don't know if you already have heard about BASCAP, which means business action to fight, to stop counterfeiting and piracy.
It's the world's biggest anti-counterfeit conference.
I know that it's not tea time, but nevertheless, seized in Sweden, coming from Lebanon, with origin China, through the US. Now you've got the complete telephone. It works, but now you've got the packaging, which is fake, the guarantee, which is fake, the invoice, which is fake. And you receive that. It's sold in the normal shops, even the condoms. Perfect.
That's quite scary.
That's scary because the final destination was Africa, of course. And there are little holes in, that means that it kills. That kills, definitely.
1,200 delegates have come from all over the world, but the speeches strangely avoid naming the greatest faker of all until it's time to answer the journalists' questions.
We have been reading a number of things since the recent years on counterfeiting and trafficking. And the name of the country, China, comes all the time at the top list. This morning, so many speakers spoke, but none of you mentioned China. Can I know why?
The truth is, the brands now depend on China for their workers, and the Chinese government doesn't take kindly to criticism. Until 30 years ago, China was a sworn enemy of capitalism. Then it allowed the first foreign companies in to open their factories. Armed with their designs, China has now become the People's Republic of Counterfeiting.
Hi, Miss Shiva. I know what you want. How are you, Mrs.? Do you want to have Hello, I watch you, okay?
Hello, you buy DVD?
I'm back. Warehouse. Tissue here. No problem.
This is Lowu Commercial City on China's southern border, a 7-story shopping centre devoted to fakes from China's copy industry.
It's nicely lined. It's a nice design. It feels okay. You think this is leather? Real leather?
Real leather.
Real leather.
Yes.
610.
AD
680. 680.
How much is that in US dollars?
Oh, I guess about 100.
Wow, I think real ones are about 1,000 quid. Tourists come here on special shopping trips, some from as far away as the United States.
I just found out about it when a girlfriend went and just couldn't believe what she saw. And she came back with stories, you know, to make our eyes bulge.
This woman's written a guidebook for them. She lives over the border in Hong Kong.
Beautiful silk. Where else can you have, you know, a beautiful suit made for $35? A nice handbag to go with it. Design some jewelry that, you know, you can wear along with it. You know, just the price makes you float.
The fakes on display are just a fraction of what's available here.
Where's Nike? I see Adidas.
Yeah.
Oh, can I see? Nike, do you have Air Max?
And the stores themselves are shop windows for wholesalers that sell in bulk to international traders.
These are good quality fake?
Yeah, A quality.
A quality.
Yeah.
From factory?
Yeah.
From a real factory?
No. Yeah. They'll then ship the copies anywhere in the world in industrial quantities.
Watches, everything.
Yeah.
I like...
I'm sorry, if you can't take the picture, okay, I'm sorry.
Not the watches.
Filming here is forbidden because the government's supposed to have cracked down on counterfeiting. But China's culture of copying goes back centuries. 10 miles from Lowu, this whole village paints Western masterpieces.
刚开始的时候，我也不是专业做梵高，什么都做，梵高、莫奈、雷诺阿。后来这个梵高的销量比较大，慢慢订单多了，就专做梵高了。要是没有梵高的话，我们现在还不知道是画什么画。
Mr. Zhang can knock off a Van Gogh in 40 minutes. He sells them to traders in Hong Kong for $1 a piece.
好奇说你的画最终挂在哪儿了？
它也没有一个固定的位置的。
你也不关心这个？
我们关心也没用， 我们拿过去，你就是找到他的客户，人家客户他也不会接受你，因为做生意就是这样的。因为我们已经阅读过梵高很多资料了，了解他是怎么样一个人，那么他用笔啊，我们尽量去接近他的用笔手法。那我刚才说为什么还要喜欢他呢？他的画好卖，好销，我们也正好从这个里面能够赚点利益，是不是？
Because of its unrivaled ability to mass-produce anything cheaply, the brands continue to find China irresistible. And it's changing the way we live.
Eat Burberry British! Eat Burberry British! Eat Burberry British!
They are essentially a retail company. I don't believe that they're interested in manufacturing goods anymore. They want to buy these goods as cheap as they can and retail them for as much as they can. We would be attacking their brand name. The corporate name is everything.
No, we don't want a factory, we want our jobs! We don't want a factory, we want our jobs!
Guide me o'er the pages. China's transforming our lives. Its products are now sold in every high street, making the goods we buy remarkably cheap. Even the most expensive brands are outsourcing to China now. And it's killing Western manufacturing.
All the factories at the top end of the valley have all closed. So it will be tragic, there'll be nothing up here.
In September 2006, iconic British firm Burberry announced that it was closing one of its last UK factories and moving production to the Far East.
The actual factory is making a profit, so they want to make more of a profit, obviously.
Bread of heaven, bread of heaven.
I think it's disgusting. I mean, I worked there when I was 14.
I'll never buy Burberry's again. I am ashamed of the word Burberry.
Until now, Burberry's been the biggest single employer in the town. 300 families have relied on it for a living.
We had an announcement. This woman came down, stood on a stool and said we was closing, factory would be closed, but the union fought and said that they wanted this 90 days, what do you call it, to fight for the redundancy.
When did she say this then? When did she
September the 6th.
Storman Wayne Howard was getting £375 a week.
What would you do if your son said he wanted to go into manufacturing?
In closing, I tell him he's off his head. He's off his head to go into that.
Why?
Well, because it's cheaper abroad and it's not, you know what I mean? To make clothes here, it's going to be too dear, isn't it? And they're going to get them made abroad. I had a suit last week in Asda's, £19. Now, where's that getting made in? I bet that was getting made in China, isn't it? £19 for a suit. Or India, whatever it is. People can't afford to make that. Yeah, could you? £19. Last week's paper, buy a suit for £19 Asda's. Unbelievable, isn't it? And a DVD player was £9 this week, innit? Tuesday advertised Asda's. £9 for a DVD player. Where's that getting made? That's not getting made yet, is it? People got to make profit, but not profit like ours, you know what I mean? Whoa, come on. They closing us down and on about their image and things like that. And they can let Kate Moss be a model. What do they give her? £30 million, is it, to be back a model for them? It's unbelievable, isn't it, for a woman just to walk up and down a catwalk.
After a flood of cheap knockoffs nearly destroyed its exclusivity, Burberry's been reborn as one of the world's most sought-after luxury brands, using Kate Moss to present itself as a monochrome, sexed-up version of what it means to be British. But Burberry's Britishness is as superficial as its copies.
The aim is to make the public aware that Burberry products, which they proudly sell as in London, as being predominantly made in Britain, ain't no longer going to be made that way.
In protest at losing their jobs, the workers are on their way to London to picket Burberry's flagship store in Bond Street.
We got to try and embarrass them as much as we can today and show them.
We would be attacking their brand name. The corporate name is everything.
You want them all?
Eat Burberry British! Eat Burberry British! Eat Burberry British!
Excuse me, I've got £20 worth of vouchers. Could you tell me what I can have for it?
Sure, yes.
We had these.
Last year, Burberry made record global sales.
Purchase something. What are you looking for exactly? It's a small gift?
Yeah, anything for £20.
For men's or for ladies?
Yes, for men if you could.
For men's, oh right.
Or ladies then if you wouldn't.
Men's department over there.
The vouchers were part of Wayne's Christmas present from the company.
That's £19, is it? Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hold it up, hold it up. Look at yes, Wayne.
Hold it up so we can see it. £19 for a scrunchie. Look at that, a scrunchie.
Oh, that looks lovely.
Do you reckon?
Look at me.
In modern business, image is everything. As a peace offering, Burberry promised to give the workers their old factory in Treorchy. The brand doesn't need it anymore because the future for them is in China, where the average garment worker gets £15 a week.
Save Burberry jobs! Save Burberry jobs!
Burberry's clothes are now being made in Shenzhen, China's largest migrant worker city. Every year, millions of people come here from all over the country to find work in the factories.
今年多大？15是不行哦。这次过去想找什么工作呢？做炭工啊。那手给我看一看。你好像在家里没怎么做事哦。能不能吃苦啊？能吃苦。
30 years ago, Shenzhen was a fishing village. Now it's bigger than New York City. Many of the world's biggest brands are made here, and so are their counterfeits.
好的，好，我看到了。
Wei Gang is part of China's new breed of businessmen. 7 years ago, he came here as a factory worker. Now he recruits them, both for the brands and for the syndicates that are secretly making their copies.
你做了2年，做了一年多的时间服装时间的话，你感觉做服装怎么样？
还可以吧。
很爱你的岗位吗？
爱呀。
The brands want skilled labour, so those that don't make the grade will end up working for the counterfeiters.
你是希望找一个什么样的企业呢？
做车位吧。
做车位。车位是非常辛苦的。
我可以的。
也可以。
As the fake factories are illegal, there are no regulations to protect workers' safety. This factory makes fake switches for fridges, computers and TVs. The people who work here regularly do a 100-hour week.
那刚来的时候肯定有一点点不习惯的感觉，就慢慢的就会好一点。
Zhu Guang first came to Shenzhen when he was 17.
就说年轻人嘛，出来打工就是第一就是好玩，反正听人家，反正在家里面没事做嘛，也是无聊，反正人家个个跑出来，你一个人在家里面也没那么好玩。就说看着人家出来打工，自己也想着， 想得出来，就是说看一下，人家说哎呦深圳怎么好啊，怎么看一下。
The counterfeit factories don't want to be identified because officially the bosses could be fined or even sent to prison. But despite this, China's fakes trade is an estimated 8% of its booming economy and growing.
This club here is a copy of a Galloway golf club, and these are widely available in shops in China, and large quantities of them are being exported to other parts of the world. This is just one brand that's affected by this problem. All of the other famous brands of golf clubs and other sports equipment and apparel and so on have the same problem. I mean, that was such a freak of luck.
Ex-detective Peter Humphreys lived here since the 80s.
Just clipped it.
He was one of the first people the multinationals hired when they discovered they had a problem with counterfeits.
Not very good, this club. A lot of Western businessmen and multinationals seem to leave half of their brain on the doorstep on the way into China. They might hire someone in a bar, or they met him on an airplane. They hire this person because he's Chinese and he speaks English or he speaks German, and they think he's great, and he seems to be a very good communicator, and he's able to get things done for you. At 3 years later, you find out, now that this guy is the general manager of your China operation, you find out that he's actually been bilking you for these 3 years. There was a lot of that kind of mishiring that went on, especially in the 90s. These kind of people, the unscrupulous elements, then gradually put together a sort of shadow supply chain or a shadow value chain. They imitate, they replicate the entire business of their multinational employer or their multinational partner. And that's how a lot of the counterfeiting has developed to this very sophisticated level that it's reached today. The leader Deng Xiaoping told China to get rich is glorious, and everyone's doing this, and it's hardly surprising that some of them will try and take shortcuts to get rich, and those shortcuts include things like copying other people's products, copying their goods and so on, copying their name. Counterfeiting really goes to all kinds of extremes here.
The quest for profits has now gone beyond ripping off foreign companies.
现在我们就来开始做人工鸡蛋，人造鸡蛋。
Almost incredibly, the counterfeiters have found a way to fake nature in order to make money.
所以现在这个蛋白、蛋黄的溶液都准备好了。这个下面最关键的要做出假鸡蛋来。
In January 2006, fake eggs were discovered for sale in 3 Chinese cities. They contain industrial chemicals that can cause dementia, but are cheaper to mass produce than it is to keep chickens.
不错，很有弹性，很结实，不会破。下面就要做整个鸡蛋了，放进去，再拿手去动了。
In modern China, anything can be faked, and if there's money to be made, it will be. In the last 10 years, China's copies have flooded every continent. Fake handbags on the streets in Spain, CDs in Mexico City, where the pirates outsell the legitimate copies.
Ferrero Rocher say that your product is just a copy of their product.
Fake software in the Ukraine, where 90% of computer programs are counterfeit.
No, this with the customer Chinese name. This product made in China is this is just English name. This is Chinese name.
Fake medicines in South America, Asia and Africa which potentially kill people. And in June 2007, the biggest bust in European history when German customs intercepted 300,000 pairs of fake Chinese Nikes. The brand's response has been to hire a new generation of Chinese detectives.
Hello?
And ask them to track down the counterfeit factories.
If there's money to be made, they can make it fake. That's what they make. There's money to be made, yeah, they can make one fake, one fake.
Thanks to technology, the fakers no longer need the brand's blueprints to make their copies. Even high-tech computer products are being counterfeited.
Have you raided places here?
Yes, for producing the land cards. I was involved with it as a buyer, and I was the one that arranged the raid. So I know both ends people, the people coming in and say hi to me while the subjects on site being caught. And suddenly I just disappeared from the scene. So it's only obvious that I'm the one who set him up. I'm the one who busted him. But then again, this is life, you know. And that's my job. And you make your money, I'm gonna bust you, that's all.
What was he like, the subject?
A young kid, a very young kid who has a degree in electronics. And the father was involved with the production of portable radio. So all he has to do is to put in an instruction, give him the sample, get all the chips, all the components together, and put it together and become a product. So it's very cheap. So they make at least 2 times or more, you know, from selling the counterfeits. So that's how bad it is and how good it is.
The rise of the detectives has had one unintended consequence: pushing the fakes industry out of the cities.
This is the raid on a factory making counterfeit toothpaste.
We've seen entire stakeholding communities growing in different parts of China. For example, you may find one little town that's entirely dependent on counterfeiting the strip lighting products of a particular well-known electrical appliances company, like Philips, for example. It's become part of the social fabric, part of the economic fabric.
The counterfeit factories are often protected here because they're essential to the local economy. And now less migrants are making the journey to find work in the big cities. Wei Gang's come back to his hometown, 1,000 miles from Shenzhen, because he needs more people to feed his clients' ever-growing demands in the city.
现在目前来说，我们现在目前接到的单子大概缺3000到5000左右吧。就是说，目前来说，看一下，就是说现在这一次大概能招多少员工？就是说，如果估计差不多的话，可能500-600号人吧。
一会儿想商量是不是？
对对，那这谁赢的？那谁赢？
谢谢啊！就是我们这边就这个了。
啊，干杯！干杯！干杯！干杯！干杯！干杯！
就说赢得啊！
啊，就
哪个赢得都没用。
Wei's father's a rice farmer. His uncle used to work in Shenzhen's factories.
董总，像这么大，我们都去，是吧？收了个全都是家具。
这些我们以这个产品，
外观什么200，这我们是。因为我们收阳光至少我们是凑合你们，可能是要尤其是我们再来，看不是哈，收入新茶在我们国家的话，收取的是最重利贷。
They're proud of Wei's role in helping China on its way to becoming the world's biggest economy. And many Chinese see the copying of foreign designs as a kind of justified revenge for centuries of economic bullying from foreign countries. But China's counterfeit boom is also built on exploiting its own people.
The last raid I went to, I was trying to find, fakes and machinery that made the fakes. and I heard children's music, and I immediately thought, wow, you know, it's a great management. They got daycare for their workers. Then slowly I realized that's not daycare. The children are the workers. If people think that buying a counterfeit Chelsea shirt or something, or fake sunglasses doesn't really do much harm, they should come with me. I'll give them a tour. They can spend a day in one of these factories and see how they feel about it. Because I've seen it all. It's pretty twisted.
Ray Tai's been running Adidas's anti-counterfeiting operation in China since the 1990s.
I had this one instance where Adidas had raided the same factory 3 times. And I went to the last raid. And when we got there, the officers of the Enforcement Bureau actually poured a cup of tea for the factory boss. Get this, it turned out that the factory boss happened to be the local Communist Party secretary. And shortly after that, I basically shut down the program.
Because of corruption?
Definitely. They don't look at it as corruption, because they think that what they're doing is promoting their economy.
Because there are so many factories now making fakes here, Adidas has given up on raiding them altogether.
If you just raid that factory, maybe that factory will not do it again. But the person who placed an order still exists. That person is just going to place the order with another factory.
Having become unstoppable in China, the next step for the counterfeiters is getting the goods to their customers in foreign countries.
All I can say is expect the unexpected. Nothing is impossible in China. If you're ordering to Mexico, if we order in big quantity, which is enough for him to send 2 or 3 of his technicians, they can send people to Mexico to stay in a flat just to assemble watch all day, and they're not allowed to leave the premises. That's how they do it nowadays. Even sending people out to do the assembly for you at destination.
Now they're exporting the labour force and the factory.
Hi Chris, I've got the photographer with me.
This one's in Peckham. It makes pirate DVDs. Others have been discovered in Italy, making fake handbags. And they're assembling watches in Germany.
As you can see, the whole room cleared out of absolutely everything. I think this just looks like all porn in here, looking at the covers. So you've got Zoophilia Extra, and again, that looks like a dog as well. Is that a horse?
Is this your room?
My son's sleeping. My son's sleeping. I can't
Where's your son?
Son here.
Downstairs?
Yeah.
If you talk again, you'll be going out and your son will be staying here, okay?
Okay.
You've been told once already, don't do it.
So this film here, Flags of Our Fathers, hasn't even been released yet in the cinema, let alone on DVD. And they've got it here in this DVD supply house.
Sit there for me. No, this end, this end. This end, here. 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 Super. That's enough talking.
Okay, I give you so you sit down here.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks very much, but no talking, yeah? I've told you why you're under arrest and I've cautioned you. I think you understand English a little bit better than maybe you were kidding me in the first place. But
yeah, this is my baby, my husband.
Okay. Well, we'll sort you out an interpreter, but you're going to be going back to the station, okay? Give me this.
Baby.
Yeah, what's in there?
Myself.
Just show me what's in there.
It costs about 60 pence to produce, £5 to sell on. So it's one hell of a profit margin for people.
Have you got your passport here? Something your name on?
My
Passport?
no passport.
What's your name then?
The family in this house comes from Fujian province, where Ray from Adidas found the child labourers.
With these people here, a lot of them we found have actually come illegally into the country and are having to sell DVDs or sell some sort of counterfeit goods to pay back the money they've paid in order to get into England. But they tend to be very private. It's very difficult getting information out of them to find out exactly, how they came here, what they're doing here, who they're working for. It's very secretive.
Seizures of counterfeit DVDs have doubled in the past 2 years. They're now distributed through every city in Britain.
It's very well organised. I mean, to produce some of these discs, you have to buy all the burners. There's some discs in there which are pressed discs, which means that it's gone into a machine that's been pressed as opposed to be burnt on like a multiple burner. That takes a lot of money to set up. You're looking at £800 million a year in England alone. That's a very serious crime, very nice sum of money to be earning, and it's the people at the top of the chain we're looking to get.
Sit down.
No, I'm fine. Cheers.
The people smugglers have found a way to double their money by getting the illegal immigrants to make and sell fakes to pay for their passage into this country. The sellers are the most likely to get caught, even though their share of the profits is minimal.
Basically, while we're emptying the house, this man has pulled up outside. We've gone out and spoken to him and invited him in, whereas one of my colleagues have arrested him. He's got a large amount of cash on him, and as you can see, the boot is absolutely full of some sort of counterfeit DVDs, whether they be porn or the mainstream Disney titles, not too sure.
The women who lived in this house were later released.
Is that from this room, is it?
The men are still waiting to be prosecuted. Meanwhile, the culture of copying to get rich has hit the British high streets. We live in a consumer society, with demand driven by a media paid to deliver us to their advertisers, the brands.
For example, Madonna and also Stella McCartney.
Topshop, a chain that has risen to retail greatness on the back of its ability to sell cheap versions of catwalk fashions, is launching its new line of clothes based on the much photographed wardrobe of supermodel Kate Moss, the face of Burberry.
Yes, everybody does. So, because it's amazing. It's got everything at cheaper prices that we'd have on the catwalk.
What's good about it?
Sort of clothes copied straight off the catwalk into the high street at affordable prices. That's what's good about it.
Inspired by.
What does that mean?
It's inspired by what's on the catwalks. You can make of that what you will.
Having made a career out of wearing £1,000 dresses, Kate Moss is helping Topshop sell their imitations for 50 quid, made in Chinese factories. It seems few of us care if the goods we buy are copies or originals, so long as they look like the real thing. Knockoffs have become fashionable, even amongst the shopping elite. In Knightsbridge, Denise Hewitt is heading for her Botox treatment.
The Balenciaga bags, that's very in at the moment. Also the Chloe bags. And there's also the new bag at the moment, Marc Jacobs is the new bag that's out at the moment with the chains, the big thick chains. The real bags would cost probably in the region of £1,000+. But the designer fake ones, probably about £30, £40, £50, I would say.
How do you get fakes?
The fakes I can buy in New York, in Dubai, in Thailand, even in Marbella. just through friends of friends that know people that have got very, very good fake bags. Yeah, a guy called Billy the Bag in Marbella has got the best bags in the whole wide world, the fake bags, I think anyway. And every time I'm in Marbella, I spend some time with Billy just to have a look at his bags, you know. Our girlfriends will be there and I'll be in England and they'll say, Billy's got this bag, Billy's got that bag. So I always know I can get a good fake bag from Billy the Bag.
Relax.
Oh, have a look at the bag on the floor. That's a fake bag. There was a 6-month waiting list for this bag. And if I had waited 6 months, it wouldn't have been in fashion. It would have been coming out of fashion. It would have been out of fashion by the time I got it. And if I had spent over £1,000 for it, whereas that one cost me €100. And
the most exclusive brands still won't admit they're competing with counterfeits.
Yeah, it's really, I think it's very good quality knockoff.
And it seems many of the multinationals tacitly accept that getting faked is just the price they pay for getting their goods made in China. But as the fakes get better, cheaper and more plentiful, the monster they've ignored for so long is becoming a threat to consumers.
Luxury goods just represent now 1% of what we seized. But, you know, they've got the power to put pressure on the politician makers, on the public awareness, they've got these powers.
World Customs Officer Christoph Zimmermann's come to London to pursue his organisation's war on counterfeiting. Whilst the faking industry is quietly spreading over the world, the closest the designer labels get to publicly acknowledging the issue is turning up to a fancy lunch hosted by an American fashion magazine.
I'm very excited about this. We're introducing a website, hopefully by the middle to end of March, and it will be called fakesareineverinfashion.com. And it's meant to...
The world's biggest criminal industry was going to be defeated by a website inviting users to join the fashion police and report counterfeit retailers.
I now have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker today. It's an honor to have Christoph Zimmermann with us. Mr. Zimmermann is an anti-counterfeiting expert and works with the World Intellectual Property Organization, Interpol, and now World Customs. Please welcome Mr. Christoph Zimmermann.
Thanks a lot. Bon appétit, we say in French. Show your meal. Well, if you are expecting a political discourse, you will be very disappointed. We can make a website, we can have public awareness. It doesn't work because in front of us, we've got fraud organizations which got more money than us. They are more clever than us. They do what they want, when they want. A couple of weeks ago, in the UK, they seized 400 kilos of counterfeit medicine, but not the traditional counterfeit medicine like that, you know. Everybody knows that. The blue pills with anti-counterfeiting hologram counterfeited, of course. But this case is much more impressive. It's for the breast cancer. Okay? So we are not talking anymore about Viagra or whatever, we're talking about breast cancer.
Fakes have moved on from designer handbags to potentially lethal medicines, and it's impossible for the untrained eye to tell the difference.
One day, you will eat a fake medicine. One day, you will have a problem with foodstuff. You imagine that you've got waffle, counterfeit mineral water, counterfeit apple, counterfeit roses. We found that. We found counterfeit medicines in the pharmacy. So it's time to react, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for your attention.
Christoph, you made me very nervous.
Zimmerman represents customs officers all over the world. They're powerless to stop the counterfeits because many brands won't even help them identify their own copies.
I've been what I have to be. I mean, I've been a little bit provocative sometimes, just to explain we need their cooperation, we need your help, because at 3 o'clock in the morning we will be not able to detect even a Louis Vuitton counterfeit bags if we don't have the technical details coming from the right holder. So the cry of the bottom of the custom officer was, please help us.
The brands went to China in order to make money, but they've unwittingly also unleashed a counterfeit industry that they appear incapable or unwilling of stopping.
Our purpose, our concern is to know where this money is going. When you are selling a Louis Vuitton or Burberry handbag, this money is going somewhere. It's $500 billion per year, so that's the main important issue.
In the next program, we uncover counterfeiting's hidden victims. We go in search of the global crime syndicates that are now smuggling lethal fakes in industrial quantities.
All the international fraud organizations have another way for money laundering. You will earn more money if you sell 1 kilo of pirated CD than if you sell 1 kilo of marijuana. It's easy, it's so easy.
Following their networks from the Far East, through Africa and America, all the way to the British High Street.
I totally trusted the chemist to give me the proper medication. So I don't know if they're fake or not. It's hard to tell. I don't think anybody will ever know.
Taking a shot at some of the greatest questions in physics. Expand your mind with Stephen Hawking, Master of the Universe, next on 4.
This is a film about how fakes are becoming a threat to our lives.
It's for the breast cancer, so we are not talking anymore about Viagra or whatever. We found counterfeit medicines in the pharmacy. So it's time to react.
The brands helped create this phenomenon by outsourcing to the East, where work is cheap.
66% of the population live on less than $1 a day in this country. And there's 33% of the population live under 45 cents a day. So that's horrific.
Our demand for their goods is now out of control. And so is our demand for their copies.
Have a look at the bag on the floor, that's a fake bag. The quality's good, the leather's good, so yeah, it's really, I think it's a very good quality knockoff.
This programme goes in search of the criminals behind the fakes trade and uncovers their hidden victims.
I totally trusted the chemist to give me the proper medication. So I don't know if they're fake or not. It's hard to tell.
It's the story of how counterfeits are taking over the world and the authorities' attempts to stop them. On the face of it, counterfeiting appears to be a victimless crime, a part of ordinary life in 21st century Britain.
Right, trainers, half price, knock off, they're fakes. Bought them from a mate. These tractor bottoms, they're knockoffs. Why pay full price when you can get everything lower price, like, you know? Save you money. That's the best way to be.
What's the difference between them and the real ones then? There's not much of a difference. You get all different colours, don't you? You get all different colours, and well,
basically keep your feet warm.
The fakes last longer.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if we wreck them either because they're only cheap, you get me? I know someone who's raking it in 100 pairs of trainers a day.
Easy.
Innit?
Yeah. They're good quality fakes? Yeah, you know, they got nice material. I know.
Like £120. Thailand.
Thailand, yeah.
The fakes trade is booming because in homes across the country, petty criminals are becoming international businessmen.
This is a Gore-Tex mountain jacket. It's a spray-away mountain jacket.
In November 2004, Mark Cody got caught bringing back copy T-shirts and handbags from Thailand.
The outlets, but he's charged me roughly, they're £100 each. He's charged £40. He said you make yourself some money, so I don't really know.
According to the Asset Recovery Squad, he'd made £800,000.
I can't live on £59 a week at the moment. That's basically my business card, the big millionaire. But maybe one day, you know, if I can sell 10,000 jackets or 100,000 handbags. The people who buy the fakes are the ones who can't afford the real. They're not affecting the sales because the people who can afford the real will buy the real. So I can't see any of these companies like bag makers, T-shirt makers losing money.
This is Pattaya, Thailand, where Mark Cody went to buy his copies. In the last 10 years, it's become a haven for Western package tourists and British expats looking to start a new life.
Liverpool, did you see the final?
In the process, it's become the new Costa del Crime.
It caters for every wish, desire. Pattaya has it. You know, there's drugs, gambling. You know, you hire a hitman jobby if you wanted one. Property scams, counterfeiting. It's the ideal place to do it.
Ex-cop Matt Riley came out here in 2005.
Most expats end up supplementing their income by way of counterfeiting. They can set up their own internet website, which will be, you know, your bog standard shopping website with, you know, maybe football shirts, for example. You got your grade A copies, which are 99.5% identical to the originals. They purchase them for just over £2 and they'll sell them for around about $35–36 US, which is a hell of a markup. The actual logistics of the whole project is phenomenal.
Matt's part of a new breed of detectives, employed all over the world by the brands to investigate the fakers.
But, do you have grade A, mate? Grade A?
Adidas.
Adidas, yeah.
What colour? This colour?
This colour.
Yeah, I look for you.
Okay. That is a brand new Chelsea shirt, which isn't even released yet. It's released in about 2 weeks' time.
He spends his nights buying knockoffs in Thailand's street markets in an attempt to find out who's supplying the copies.
Where have the designs come from? Have they come from Chelsea or have they come from a factory? So there's got to be a leak of information somewhere, like all places.
But the detectives are often powerless to stop the big counterfeiters because the police here are notoriously corrupt, having grown rich off bribes from the country's criminals.
Jesus Christ, the iniquity of us all! Behold, the Lamb of God, which taketh
Thanks to corruption, Thailand's become an established base for globalized crime syndicates, trafficking in fakes, drugs, weapons and human beings.
Thou shalt see the glory of God.
And as more national barriers come crashing down,
says, kneel neither is there salvation at any other, for there is none other.
Their influence is spreading.
We must be saved, 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 saved.
Thailand borders Cambodia, a country that's just opening up to the rest of the world. After decades of civil war and a genocide that wiped out a generation.
There's no regulation and no law enforcement in this country. There's nothing. You can just do what you want.
The brands are now being made here because the workers are even cheaper than in China.
All the brands, they can exploit people here. 66% of the population live on less than $1 a day in this country. And there's 33% of the population live under 45 cents a day. That's horrific.
Despite having a fair pay policy, some of the richest and most famous brands don't even know how their goods are being made in these factories.
This big garment factory here, they might hire anything up to 1,000 girls in there, and if they're getting paid $2 a day, well, we'd be very lucky.
Because no one's checking, Cambodia is also a perfect place for counterfeiting.
About a year and a half ago, there was claims that counterfeit garments were located in Australian stores, and they traced them to this garment factory. If you just go a bit further, just so the guards don't see us. They're useless, really, the police.
The fakes factories are under armed guard because the counterfeiters are now buying their workers rather than paying them a pittance. Sapip's 14 years old. 3 months ago, her mother sold her to a Chinese businessman. In the past 5 years, the first slave factories have been discovered on the Thai-Cambodian border. They've changed the lives of a few people who've seen them.
To this day, I can still smell the urine and the vomit that was in that factory.
Lawyer Ed Kelly couldn't believe what he was witnessing.
And these workers that are working 20-hour days were chained to the machines upon which they were working. They were being fed from dog bowls. This changed this business from being a law practice to being more like a religion.
Sapip was released by a charity and is now living in a hostel. According to the US government, 230,000 people are trafficked through Southeast Asia every year. No one knows how many of them are now working in the fakes industry. After making the fakes in the East, the main challenge for the counterfeiters is smuggling them to the West. America's their top consumer.
Counterfeit sneakers, designer jeans, caps, belts.
Airplane parts, automobile parts, food products, infant formula.
20 to 30% of all parts on your car, if you've had it repaired, are probably counterfeit.
This is America's biggest port, Long Beach, California. The main point of entry for the fakes coming in from Asia. 13,000 containers come through every day. Customs seize just 2 of them.
This
was manifested as ladies' handbags from China with a value of like $1 each. I found Chanel, Fendi, and Coach bags. Wallets. How do you know when you're getting the real deal? There were 458 cartons. And I have no idea. I have to do an inventory to see how many bags are in each carton. Made in Paris. The box says made in China.
If customs can only stop a fraction of the fakes on the border, the police too can only bust a tiny minority of street dealers. In LA, they're raiding 5 days a week.
Yeah, copy. We got both our subjects. Go ahead and start seeing the other looks. Sorry, man, it's not for sale. Well, basically, we came in. We identified both targets. They were both here. This is the handbags that we were looking for, which belongs to him, and then the CDs, which belongs to this other guy over here. So we covered both of the locations. We got both of our targets that we were looking for. So we did good for the day.
You know what? If you put that much effort into doing this, into something else, you probably made more money, bro.
The street gangs here have diversified into fakes because the money's better than their traditional business, coke dealing.
I don't think it's going to be something that's ever going to stop. It's kind of like drugs. You know, you target a location, you make arrests, you may slow it down, but you'll never stop it. There's way too much money involved in counterfeit for it to just stop.
Despite the fact that only the foot soldiers ever get caught, the tactics remain the same, raiding the street dealers and pushing for harsher penalties. For countless small businesses trying to establish their reputations, brand protection has become a necessity.
These are counterfeits that we found in LA. I think we took this from some Hezbollah, and we're gonna burn it right now.
Jeans maker LRG's knockoffs have turned up all over the world, threatening the company with bankruptcy. Rob Holmes is their brand detective.
When I was a teenager, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and instead I went away to Bible college to become a minister. Realized I wasn't really much for rules, so I left there, moved out to LA to become a stand-up comedian, and I did that for a few years and realized that you know, sometimes it's hard to escape the family business because it's what you know. You know, my father always said he was born to catch bad guys. I really think I was born to catch bad guys.
Rob also works for some of the world's biggest luxury goods firms. Thanks to the internet, the fakes trade has exploded.
All right, this is the package label right here from EMS, tracking package company. We placed this order using a credit card on a website. And if customs were to look at this, this just would look like a regular toy, electronic toy. Now, I just unscrewed all the screws on the back of this, so now we'll be able to see what the inside of this looks like. And this is exactly what happens. And there's my receipt for a violin.
Was it China, as you say?
Yes. Yeah, it came from China. Groups like Customs, they can inspect large packages, but they can't inspect every single one of the tens of thousands of small packages that go across the border. So when someone sees a toy, it's wrapped like a gift, you know, stuff like that makes it pass very often. And there it is. A designer brand name watch that we ordered off of a website with a U.S. telephone number. And there you go. From the website to my hand. I just love what I do, and I don't have any other hobbies. You know, catching bad guys is all I like to do. So that's what I do. I catch bad guys. When I'm home, you know, I do spend some time with my wife, obviously, but when I'm home, I really like to catch bad guys. So sometimes I'll just pause the TiVo, turn the TV off or something, and just pull out my laptop and start investigating people.
Rob's investigations have led to the seizure of almost $1 billion worth of copies.
So look at this. I mean, I just put in replica watches and look at all the... This is just right here. And just pages and pages of replica watches. And this person here, he's selling an Omega Seamaster for $215. I'm actually wearing an Omega Seamaster. You can't get it for less than $1,300. This watch here, retail price, $215. And it's being sold by a guy from Ilkeston, UK. Now, first thing I'm going to do, Google his username. There's 72 hits, and here he is selling the same Omega Seamaster on a UK-based site. And here he is. Here he says Derbyshire, but then he says Ian. So now we have a first name. Also, we have a home page that he claims to be his home page. So we may have some owner information. Well, right here, look at this. Good luck and warmest regards, Ian J. Baker. Next thing I want to do, going to check the British White Pages. Okay, now we have a possible suspect. I.J. Baker, 14 Hedges Drive, Ilkeston.
Ian Baker told us he sold only one counterfeit watch, which he'd previously bought for himself online. After we contacted him, he shut down his website, which had offered to show people how to make money through the internet.
Let me see these fucking shoes.
But otherwise law-abiding citizens can quickly become bigger fish,
Fake. I'm flipping out. This is fake store.
setting up their own fakes businesses online.
Well, it all started on eBay, as it happens. It was the very first Harry Potter movie I saw for sale on there and thought, oh, I'll buy that. I think it was about £10. Things progressed from there.
Peter Stevens used to buy his fakes from a man called Paul. When he disappeared, Peter was contacted by the supplier and asked to replace him.
The DVDs used to come from a guy called Ivan, who was based in Malaysia. And Ivan got in touch with me and said, look, Paul's no longer selling DVDs on eBay, would you like to take over from him? And then it was a case of me ordering direct from Ivan and getting the DVDs even cheaper and selling them on eBay. You know, everything was good in the hood, as they say.
Within weeks, he was selling to customers in 39 countries.
You know, I made a good living out of it. Over the 2 years, I brought in £330,000 or thereabouts. I didn't need the money, but I wanted the money. You know, it was like you get used to going and shopping at Harvey Nicks and going and eating in fine restaurants and things like that, and you forget what it was like when you couldn't afford to do that.
People like Peter have become fronts for the major players who use them to take all the risks whilst they remain hidden.
When I went to prison, I got talking, you know, when you're in prison, it's what you in for, what you done, this, that and the other. And two of the guys over him were like, oh, I'm in for copyright theft. Oh, me too. And you get talking, it's, oh yeah, Ivan Lau, this guy that supplies us. Oh, bloody hell, yeah, he supplies you as well.
What did you used to do? What was your profession before that?
Well, I started life out as a chef, but at the time that I was selling the DVDs, I was working in computer security.
Ivan Lau was a fake name. Peter and the other distributors only communicated with him via emails. Little is known about the kingpins that are now running world counterfeiting. Getting close to them is increasingly dangerous.
This one was particularly interesting because somebody attacked me with this and I disarmed him.
The top investigators are taking extraordinary risks to try to uncover the syndicates.
Not the usual stuff an IP lawyer.
But there's no training for this in law school, that's for sure.
Despite being sick with laryngitis, Ed Kelly was desperate to tell us about them.
What we're seeing today is really the dark side of globalization. A trafficking organization now is similar to a multinational corporation. You have human resources, you have a CFO, you have accountants, you have lawyers, you have recruiters, you have people that specialize in logistics, you have warehousemen, you have shippers, you have truckers, you have distribution, and you have retail. All of those functions are functions that you would find in a Walmart and functions that you would also find in a highly developed criminal organization. All right?
What personal experience do you have that makes you believe that?
I've been in meetings posing as a lawyer who's helping a gang set up an offshore bank account so that I get intelligence about all of the different investors and shareholders, and they talk about it openly. You can see the scar.
2 weeks before our meeting took place, Ed's undercover work finally caught up with him.
Here, a motorcyclist came and tried to slash me with a box cutter. I mean, that's the type of thing that you would find. That happened within 2 blocks of my home. So that means to me, they know where I live. And that's why my wife wants to move. And we're going to move at the end of July.
The syndicates are now targeting Britain.
Gary Hayward, good morning. Hi, Nikki.
This is a middleman working for one of them. Gary Hayward's been wanted since 2003 for his part in an international fake Viagra conspiracy.
That's what we've seen, and that's for your lot, isn't it? But they're all coming in fours now. Oh, that's good. What can you do? Yeah, that's actually coming down. On the foil packs, we're actually going to be looking at $4 per tablet. Right. I know a guy, not a million miles from here, who is selling these on the internet, and in some cases is getting as much as £12 sterling per tablet. Yeah, I know. Within 6 to 8 weeks, I will be able to supply up to 1 million tablets.
He's being filmed by private investigators, posing as fellow criminals.
Review this, I'll have to speak to Well, to be quite honest with you, Simon, that if you can't make a killing at those prices, then you're never going to... No. That's confident I will. It's what you have to appreciate. Look, they're coming through the back door. Yeah. I'll work that out for the price. You know, they're happy with what they're making. You know. Because you said you worked there, did you, for a while? I worked for 15 years. Good for me. Brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely superb. So you go to Barry, you're a chemist or? No, I'm international sales manager. Oh, right.
Hayward's claims were themselves fake. He was getting the drugs from a man in China who went by the alias of Victor Chen. In September 2007, Hayward was convicted along with 3 of his co-conspirators. They'd sold over 500,000 pills.
This is the biggest investigation and prosecution of counterfeit medicines here in the UK.
It had taken the authorities 4 years to catch them.
It's a very significant global counterfeiting ring.
But the Ivan Laos and Victor Chens of this world still remain hidden. And worryingly, the syndicates are moving on from lifestyle drugs to prescription medicines. This is Nigeria, West Africa, a warning of things to come for Britain. It's being flooded with fake, potentially lethal pharmaceuticals.
This came in as battery chargers. They concealed it with battery chargers, but they are still anti-malaria, Cortexin. Came on Ethiopian airline, and the consignment is from China, anti-malaria, and they're all fake.
Are they good quality copies? They look good?
Very good quality copies. The hologram is there. Same name. It has the NAFDAC registration number, which is correct. And it's just difficult for you to differentiate between the fake from the original.
In the quest for profits, the fakers have moved on to products that kill. And it's no longer just the developing world's problem. This is Lagos, where by the turn of the century, 40% of the drugs in circulation were estimated to be fake. It was up to the Nigerian regulator, NAFDAC, to fight the counterfeiters single-handed, because the big drug companies didn't want to publicize the issue. People didn't know that the medicines they were taking had little or no active ingredients, because the regulators were being paid off by the counterfeiters.
Fake drug catches up on every individual, irrespective of your class.
The victims come from all levels of society, including the former president of the Nigerian Medical Association.
One evening, I was just in my office here, this same place, and started feeling dizzy. And suddenly, I collapsed.
After going into a coma, Dr. Okpagu spent the next 3 months in hospital.
It was 8 days before I woke up, only to discover that my blood pressure had risen abnormally high, and I had a cerebrovascular accident. This very Zestril drug, I've been on it for over 15 years. And this time around, just for 2 months, they were fake drugs. When these people fake these drugs, they mimic the exact nature and the label of this drug. When I got the package, it was just similar to what I used to take.
And where did you buy that fake medicine? You probably bought it in a pharmacy. We're not talking about a street market or a hawker.
No, a pharmacy, yes, of course, pharmacy. There are still many of them today. Many of them. I mean, the job by NAFDAC is very credible and commendable, but I can tell you it's a drop in the ocean in terms of the magnitude of people who are involved in fake drugging.
For the past 6 years, the war on fakes here has been headed by a former pharmacist called Dora Akunyili.
Everything we have here is fake and is meant for destruction. Can we destroy all of them tomorrow?
As well as medicines, the counterfeits include food, shampoo and toothpaste, all of them potential threats to the health of consumers.
This tomato.
They've been found to contain brick dust, industrial chemicals and human urine.
Everything here must go to that field. What is this? Oh.
My own sister died of diabetes that could not be controlled by insulin. And as a scientist, it is impossible for insulin not to control diabetes. Because there is insulin, diabetes is lack of insulin. She was actually being administered with fake insulin, and this girl was going down and down and down. It was much later that it dawned on us that this girl never had the right treatment. And it was the same story with most families. I doubt if there's any Nigerian family that has no story to tell.
Vivian Akunyili is one of many. Most of the counterfeiters' victims remain hidden. In 2003, 4 children in Enugu province, southern Nigeria, died because the American doctors who treated them couldn't revive them after their operations. The doctors who shot this footage for their charity believe the adrenaline they used was an understrength counterfeit. According to the World Health Organization, 1 million Africans die of malaria every year, mainly because of fake medicines. Dora sends her enforcers out to hit the counterfeit traders twice a week.
Very good.
What kind of medicines are there in the boot now?
All types of medicines. Antibiotics, analgesics, OTC drugs, anti-malarials, any type. You have a look later when we get to the office.
The war on drugs, Nigerian style.
You saw the drama of the trying to escape?
We have got convicted about 45 people. 60 cases are in court, but we are not excited about the convictions. Because the real big men behind the small boys that are working for them, we have not been able to convict any of them. Their cases linger in court forever. Adjournment upon adjournment.
Dora's raids have taken $350 million worth of fake medicines since she started her job in 2001.
The first action of counterfeiters is to try to compromise regulators. When that failed, they resorted to intimidation, harassment, blackmail, threats. One of the intimidatory aspects of their action was to deposit fetish objects in my office, which included a tortoise. They were not happy. And they had actually told a few people to tell me, they telephoned many times through their friends to tell me that it's either I pipe down and do the job as I should do it, or I would find myself dead and they would clear my family.
The threats they made against Dora became a reality in December 2003.
There was so much shooting that we thought it was Christmas bangers. And the back windscreen collapsed. And then I had a very big bang on my head. And the pain was so intense that when I got to the police station, I told them that bullet was inside my head. And the policeman said, "Shut up, madam. If bullet is inside your head, you won't be talking. It's a brush."
Dora now lives under 24-hour protection. The men who bragged about shooting her are still walking the streets.
The job itself has even become a security for me, because the drug barons are bitter, their relations are bitter, their boys, they have trained people. So they have people all around that are waiting for the day that all this security will disappear.
In a world where justice can be bought by criminals, the war on fakes depends on the personal courage of a few individuals. When she leaves her job, Dora will lose her armed guard and will have to leave Nigeria.
This is a transnational criminal network and can only be dismantled through international cooperation. It does not need visa to travel from country to country. So what affects us here actually can affect them in US or in Britain.
In the past 4 years, the first fake medicines have been discovered in UK pharmacies.
Legitimate sales of Lipitor make almost £6 billion a year for manufacturers Pfizer. The fakers' attempts to cash in on the success of this blockbuster drug mean an entire batch of 20-milligram pills is being recalled. UK regulators were tipped off to the fakes by Dutch investigators, but how did they enter our pharmacy supply chain?
It was the 29th of July, 2 years ago, and I was just settling down to watch the TV, put the TV on, caught the tail end of the news, and it says that the government were recalling a drug that I was on, this Lipitor drug. I thought, oh, wonder what ones they are. So I went online, looked up news. I got a BBC website, a news website, and I found out they were counterfeit. So I panicked.
In Glasgow, Anne Biggerstaff suffers from sudden death syndrome. She needs anti-cholesterol drug Lipitor to stop her from having a heart attack, like the ones that killed her brother at 31 and her father at 55.
I phoned NHS 24 and he says to me, they're not fake, they just weren't meant for Britain. And I says, well, it says in the leaflet for the UK. And straight away I thought, there's something going on here. You know, I was unable to kind of live my life after that because I was panicky. I didn't know how long. If something gave me a sudden fright, would I take a heart attack? You know, I just didn't know if I had the protection of these pills. So I went to see my consultant and I says to him that I've still got some of these tablets left. And he says, do you mind if I take them and get them tested? And I says, no, that's fine, because I would like to know what's in them, to see if that was causing the side effect to the palpitations and things.
Anne had been ill on the suspect medicines, but when she tried to get her pills confirmed as fakes, she found that neither the chemists nor the hospitals were able to test them to see what was in them.
So I don't know if they're fake or not. It's hard to tell. I don't think anybody will ever know. My life was in their hands, so to speak. I totally trusted the chemist to give me the proper medication.
Because the medical establishment doesn't appear to be equipped to deal with the issue, our peace of mind now depends on the drug regulator stopping the fakes from getting into the system.
It's fair to say that we don't think that the UK is awash with counterfeit medicine in the regulated supply chain. However, these counterfeit goods are emerging in the market and we are seeing a rise in that. There is absolutely no room for complacency.
And why is Britain attractive at the moment?
We're a good market. Medicines are expensive in the United Kingdom. The counterfeiters will go for high turnover, high price products. So on the last recall, some of those packets of 28 tablets were £138 a packet.
Britain's had 9 known instances of fake medicines turning up in chemists in the past 4 years, 3 of them in the summer of 2007.
There are millions of prescriptions every year for medicines, and we've had 9 incidents. I mean, how serious is that, 9? Each incident is actually the importation of a huge quantity of counterfeit medicines. So one incident might be 100,000 medicines. So I actually think that it would be much more honest if we said to the public, there have been close to 900,000 incidents than 9. I'll say that again. There have been, on that measure, there have been closer to 900,000 incidents in this country over the last year or so than 9.
Graham Satchwell ran anti-counterfeiting for GlaxoSmithKline, Britain's biggest drug company.
Without any naming names, there was one guy I spoke to one day in a particular company, pharma company, who was responsible for Russia and Eastern Europe. And I said, I think you've got a problem with counterfeits and I want to do some research. This was before the research was done that showed that 10% of the drugs in Russia were counterfeit. He said, no, I haven't got a problem. I said, hey, you don't think you've got a problem, but I really would think it's worth doing some research because I think, he said, you're not here's listening to me, Graham. I haven't got a problem.
In the summer of 2007, the drug regulator announced that counterfeit medicines for cancer sufferers, schizophrenics and stroke victims had turned up in UK pharmacies. It's never been easier for a corrupt wholesaler to get fakes into Britain.
Alibaba's a trade site, international trade site, global trade site, where people with things to sell are matched with things that people who want to buy stuff, but it's commercial. Now look, if you look at the front page, those are the categories of product, and if you look through there, you will not find medicines or pharmaceuticals. But there's a well-known phrase that's used to cover these products, and that's health and beauty. So we click on that, and it tells us there are 1,836 selling leads. Now let's look for suppliers. Okay. Now, we've found 3,579 suppliers of medicines. I chose one at random, one based in China. And that's where my new friend, Gabriel, As we expressed that we have more than enough experience to deal with this business, we did Cialis, Levitra and Viagra before, and perfect. We very quickly developed into a situation where he was prepared to make for me 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 packs. And he'd really like to make more, but he's prepared to sell me, 100,000 of each. And also, I said to him, I want this to include price of carriage to the UK. And he says, yeah, OK, we'll include that in the price of carriage to the UK. It's as simple as that. Hiya.
Good morning.
How are you? All right?
Yeah, not so bad, thanks.
Okay.
Special delivery for you.
Thank you. Let's have a look what we got. Right, this is the one. Let's see what Gabriel sent us, Yeah, that's come from China, so that's the right one. Okay, I can recognise those tablets anyway. This is a GlaxoSmithKline drug, Levitra. This is the Pfizer drug, Viagra. And this looks to me like Cialis. So these are three very frequently counterfeited drugs. If these are counterfeit, then you can see that the quality of that is actually very good. The tablets are marked up, they're embossed, the quality of the print is very good indeed, and so on. Patient information leaflets for Viagra. Packaging for Viagra. And I've got to say, if you look at this, it does not look as if this packaging has been used before. And what I mean is, this looks as if it's just come off the production line. We're getting really good now. I've got more confidence in this guy as the package rolls on. Because what we've got here are counterfeit holograms. So this is convincing evidence that this guy knows what he's doing. So as a villain, I would say this guy can do what he says he can do. And we can confidently order 100,000 a month of any product that we want, and he'll provide them at silly prices. So people who say, oh, well, our systems are good, we have a look, blah, 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 don't understand the nature of the trade. This is the sort of quality of product that concerns me, in as much as that it would not be noticed by anyone in the system.
The modern fakes trade began 20 years ago, when the brands first outsourced to a country of 1 billion hungry people. But as well as being responsible for most of the world's copies, Communist China is also counterfeiting's biggest victim. According to the Beijing government, 190,000 of its people have died directly because of fake medicines. They recently executed the top drug regulator, Zheng Xiaoyu, for corruption. But even the Chinese government appears powerless to stop the faking syndicates. Because in the modern world, everyone wants a bargain.
Welcome in our fake planet. It's apart from the North Pole and the South Pole, where maybe the penguin, even the penguin could be fake. Everything, we saw everything.
A new form of capitalism has emerged, and it's bordering on anarchy.
Capitalism is only good when it's restrained by decency, morality, and law. And what we're seeing now in the black markets is capitalism unrestrained by decency, morality, or law.
10 stone takes on 20 stone. Diets from hell in Super Size versus Super Skinny tomorrow at 8. Do we still need a god? Stephen Hawking wants big answers to big questions. He's Master of the Universe next on 4.